Hi, I'm Jamie Johnson of the Johnson Law Firm, where we do estate planning probate, and we do it well. Today I'd like to talk to you about why do I need to have estate planning now? Most people think estate planning is for grandparents and older generations to make sure their assets are passed down to their children in a controlled and efficient manner. That is true. However, estate planning is also highly important for young parents and for parents of children who are in that college age who are at risk of blowing the money. It's most important for parents with young children because if something were to happen to you and your spouse when you're younger, then that money is going to be sitting there for the children for a long time. If you have children under the age of 7 or 8 when the catastrophic event happens to you and your spouse, you're talking at least another 10 years before that money would technically be handed over to your child. During that 10 years, that money is going to be invested and grow, and it could go from a reasonable size estate to some significant chunk of money. You need to make sure that not only the money is protected, but your child is protected. Through a trust, you can make sure that that money is not just sitting in an account at the court, not growing and just sitting there waiting for your child to turn 18 so they can blow it when they turn 18. That's the worst case scenario. Through a trust, that money can be managed by a person who you trust, or they can hand that money over to a financial advisor who can invest that money for your children to make sure that money grows. So although you might leave a modest estate of several $100,000s to your children, if it's properly invested over a 10-year period, that modest estate can become quite a large estate, which can significantly help your children more once they're older. Can pay for college, because college is getting pretty darn expensive. Might be able to help them put a down payment on their first house or help pay for their wedding. These are the things that a trust can do if it's set up for a young couple and young parent that a will simply cannot. Also included in estate planning are very important documents called power of attorneys and medical directives. Without these documents, you're risking someone who doesn't know you making these important decisions for you. Through a power of attorney, you can name not only your spouse, but also a sibling or a best friend to be that person to step in case you're incapacitated. If you and your spouse are involved in an accident and you're in the hospital and the mortgage needs to be paid, through that power of attorney, your sibling or your best friend can get access to your accounts to make sure that the mortgage is paid. So that way you're not running into significant financial issues or legal issues when you're in need. It's also important because in terms of medical directive, you're naming someone to make medical decisions on your behalf. A spouse does not have the legal right to make medical decisions for their spouse in the hospital. They just don't. Just because you're married doesn't mean you get to make those decisions. Now, I know that's shocking to a lot of wives out there who think, that's my husband, I can make a decision. Legally, you cannot. If your husband's incapacitated and there's not a medical directive, although a doctor might consult with you, the doctor gets to make the call. With a medical directive, you get to step into the place of your spouse and make that decision if they're not physically or mentally capable of making it. You need to make sure that you have that set up beforehand. That's not one of those things that you can do afterwards. So we've covered powers of attorneys and medical directives. As we've covered, trust, powers of attorneys, and medical directives are very important documents that need to be set up as early as possible, especially once you start having children. And they need to be reviewed as your family grows and has life-changing events. If you have any questions regarding what is estate planning and should you get started now or can it wait, feel free to reach out to the Johnson Law Firm. We'd be happy to talk to you about it.